You are my friends if you keep on doing the things which I command you to do. That's exactly not the kind of friend that I want. Hi YouTube, thank you for joining me again this week. I've been doing a series on boundaries, particularly how Jesus deals with setting boundaries. I know that's something I'm working on this year. This week we're going to be talking about friendships and how Jesus seemed to set boundaries with his friends. When I was doing my research for this topic, the first scripture that I found was John 15:14. You are my friends if you keep on doing the things which I command you to do. Yeah, so that, I was just like, that sounds like narcissism. That's exactly not the kind of friend that I want. This is just a lesson in how we cannot cherry pick the Bible. We can't just read one scripture and say, oh, well, see that? It actually begins in verse 12. So let me just read it from verse 12. This is my commandment, that you love one another just as I have loved you. No one has greater love, no one has shown stronger affection than to lay down or give up his own life for his friends. You are my friends if you keep on doing the things which I command you to do. That is a bit of a better picture of what Jesus was talking about. When he said, you are my friends if you do what I command you, he was saying, you're my friends if you love each other. I think that that is a really great place to start. You want to have a boundary around the character of the people you have in your life. And here you can see that Jesus really set a clear boundary that you're not my friend if your character is off. These are the things that are valuable to me. If you don't share this value, then we can't be friends. Again, it goes back to what I mentioned the last week, which is that you have to really know who you are, what you believe, what you stand for, before you can start setting boundaries. Because, how do you set parameters if you don't even know what you're setting them around? I like that Jesus set, a boundary with his friends, saying, if you want to be a part of my crew, these are my values. And if you don't share them, we're not friends. I think that it's inspiring that his value is, how do you care for each other? How do you love your fellow man? How do you take care of the people around you? It's not well if it's not with love. I'm sorry, you have no part with me. So there's another scripture, actually just a few chapters before this, John 13:34. So here Jesus says, I give you a new commandment, that you should love one another just as I have loved you. So you too should love one another. It's very powerful, this scripture, not just because of the content, but because of what precedes it. Jesus says this after having washed the feet of his disciples. You see, Jesus knew that two of his disciples were going to seriously disappoint him. The first one was Judas, who outright sold him to his death. The second person was Peter, who denied him 3 times in public when he was asked if he was a follower of Jesus. To save his own skin, he abandoned Jesus. And Jesus knew that these two of his friends were going to betray him, and yet he still served them and loved them. He still gave them an opportunity to share his mandate and his values. If you read this whole chapter, and I would recommend you do go back and read this chapter, it's interesting to me that Jesus did not shy away from confronting both of these men about what they were going to do. And I think that's something as Christians that we tend to shy away from, especially in situations where we are around other Christians. We tend to avoid confrontation, and we think that it's a noble quality and it's a good trait to just ignore things, avoid things, overlook things, dismiss things, not address them head on. And one thing that I noticed about Jesus is he never shies away. He's not, like I said in my other videos, he's never rude, and he doesn't have a malicious intent, but he doesn't shy away from being confrontational. And when I say confrontational, I don't mean instigating a fight, but he mentions what he notices. He says, you have an opportunity to turn away. You have an opportunity to change. Jesus was not just this like timid, don't want to rock the boat. No, and it wasn't about intentionally rocking the boat either. It was just, I'm going to present things as they are. I'm going to say what is there. So in verse 21, it says, after Jesus had said these things, he was troubled, disturbed, agitated in spirit, and said, I assure you, most solemnly I tell you, one of you will deliver me up. One of you will be false to me and betray me. Jesus was very aware of his spirit, his feelings. It was not like he was detached and cold and trying to hurt somebody or get back. He was expressing himself and he was being honest, and he did not shy away from being honest about how he was feeling. It clearly disturbed him quite a bit. He could have kept it to himself. He could have thrown out the person without explanation, but instead he expressed himself clearly, and that was it. To Peter, at the end, Jesus was saying, well, where I'm going, he was talking about being crucified and dying on the cross. And he said, where I'm going, you can't go. And Peter said, no, why can't I go with you? He says, Lord, why can I not follow you? I will lay down my life for you. I will lay down my life for you. And Jesus answers in verse 38, will you really lay down your life for me? I assure you, most solemnly, I tell you, before a rooster crows, you will deny me, completely disown me 3 times. Those are fighting words. Those are fighting words, because from the beginning of this chapter till the end, Peter has been selling himself as the most devoted, loyal friend Jesus would ever have. I'll do whatever for Jesus. I don't care. I mean, even up until they were taking Jesus, Peter was out here cutting ears off. And Jesus just looks him straight in his eye and he's like, I can see you, Peter. I can see you. When there's pressure, you are going to buckle. This whole I'm loyal facade, it's only because I'm here. But when I'm gone and it's just you and the crowd, I can see you. And I think that's another point that I would like to just bring out, is to be honest with yourself about what you observe with your friends, because you want to know what? People can change for the better and also for the worse. You want to never be so reliant and put all your hope and trust in a human being as a friend that you lose your ability to see when things have shifted. Maybe confiding in this person is not the safest for you emotionally or psychologically because of where they are at in life. Or maybe even because of, like Jesus said, where you're going, where you want to go in life, who you want to become. When you start to see, hey, I'm moving forward, you're not quite even going in the same direction, or maybe you're not so motivated to go as far in the direction I want to go as I am. You have to be able to, as I mentioned in my last video, differentiate yourself and say, you want to know what? I have always been me. I have never been a part of you, and you've never been a part of me. So there was always a chance that we might grow apart. There was always a chance that your direction might end up being different than mine. And that's not bad, that's not wrong. Nobody's evil here, it doesn't have to be. But it's time for us to just go with God on whatever journey that He has destined for us as individuals to go on. Because if you're still holding on to people who just aren't going in the same direction, you're holding yourself back from opportunities and blessings that are waiting for you. So I don't know, I think I kind of was all over the place, but I'll try and just itemize what I said today. Number 1, look at your values. and see if your values match with that of your friends. The way I want to be in this world, is this similar or complementary to how this person seems to want to be in this world? What are their values? What are their goals? So secondly is, don't be afraid of confrontation. Don't be afraid to state when something feels off. Just being honest. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be angry, but you can state and say, this is where I'm at. I keep saying this in every video, but you really have to be honest with yourself and with others in order to set effective boundaries. Lastly, I'm going to echo what I said last week, which is differentiate. You want to keep a bit of distance between you and your friends. They are separate and unique human beings, and it's not uncommon or out of line to think that there might be a time where your journeys are just not going to be the same and your destinations are not going to be the same. And so you really have to be sure of yourself and your destination in order to set effective boundaries with your friends. So that's all I have for you today. Sorry for the lighting at the end here. I hope that you're able to take some of these observations I've made from the life of Jesus and, set some of your own boundaries. So thank you so much for joining me on my channel, and I'll see you next week.